Hello everyone! I'm going to give a tutorial of one of my favorite games called Carcassone. Carcassone is actually a world-famous city in France that is well known for its fortifications and magnificent walls. This is a game that players actually build the board as they go along, and tiles are drawn at random and laid down next to one another, and each player has a series of game pieces, which in this game are referred to as followers, that they can use to stake claims and gain points. The purpose of this game is to get the most points, and at the end, the player who scores the highest wins. Here is an overview of the scoreboard. Each player will have one of their followers or game pieces on this board to kind of track their points as they go. And here are the game pieces. On the right hand side you can see the tiles, and each player will just take turns drawing tiles at random, and then on the left hand side you can see the different followers. Each player will choose a different color of follower, and this game includes 6 different colors, so it can be played with anywhere between 2 and 6 players. Something that can be kind of fun if you have more than 6 players is team up with some of your friends, and that can really make things interesting. Gameplay begins with laying down the pieces that have the river on them. These pieces are typically kept separate from the other game pieces, and there are about 10 of them total. Once the river itself is constructed, then players can begin building up the areas around it. 3 pieces in, you can see some other elements on the pieces other than just the river. You can see on here what looks like a white ribbon, which is referred to as a road, and then the third piece that you can see, which was laid down, is the beginning of a city. The player who laid down this tile can take one of their followers and stake a claim on that piece of the city by putting one of their followers on top of it. Players can only put their followers down on the active tile. So if I played a tile, only I can place down one of my followers on that tile. No other players can put their followers down on the tile that I played, and then and I cannot put my follower down on any other pieces that players have put down before me. And as you can see here, it was the red player that laid down the piece that had the little bit of the city on it, so they used one of their followers to stake the claim on that city. From there, they'll be able to draw other game pieces that they'll be able to use to match up with this piece to expand on their city to gain more points. And here you can see a few more pieces along that the yellow player had laid down a piece that had a section of the city on it, and they have laid down one of their followers on it to begin working on a city of their own. The most recent game piece that was laid down is a new one. It looks different than the other 2 city pieces that we've seen that one red follower and one yellow follower have been placed down on. This new piece is called a monastery. A monastery scores points based on all of the adjacent pieces around it being assembled. These pieces are not limited to having to be road pieces or city pieces, they just have to line up logically with the space that's available. So for this monastery, the piece that would go directly below it would have to be a road piece that could connect with that one. It could not just be a flat city piece or a flat piece of green land. And as you can see here, it was the red player that laid down the piece that had the monastery on it, so they have put down one of their followers to stake a claim on it. When it comes to the end of the game, if the pieces around this monastery have not been completed, it will still score points for the follower. Completed monasteries score 9 points. However, so if, as an example, at this point in the game, this monastery would be worth 2 points for the piece itself and the one piece adjacent to it that has been completed. At the end of the river, we have an example of a player using their follower as a farmer. Farmers are scored differently, and in that they cannot be scored until the end of the game. Farmers score points for the players based on how many completed cities that their fields touch. So for example, if at the end of the game this farmer's land touched 3 completed cities, those cities would be worth 3 points each to the player that has the farmer laid down, for a total of 9 points. Here you can see that the yellow player has placed another piece on their city in an effort to build it up. This new city piece has a small shield on it that is blue and white. This shield indicates that piece is worth 1 point in addition to what its normal score is. So normally when a city is completed, each tile that the city occupies is worth 2 points. However, with this piece, that one will be worth 3 points, but it's only that piece that is worth 3 points. No other pieces in the completed city would be worth 3 points unless they also had a shield on them. Now, an interesting move that I want to point out is the piece that was just laid down kind of next to the city that the red player is building. The red player has strategically started building their city right next to the yellow player's city in hopes that they can merge the two cities together and share points with the other player. If this city is completed with one of each color of the followers on it, the players will each get the same amount of points. This is a disadvantage because the player who gains the most points altogether at the end is the one who is the winner. So at this point in the game, the yellow player has more points on that city than the red player has. So the red player is in essence leveled the playing field. So the yellow player will need to take some more evasive maneuvers in order to pull ahead of the red player in regards to points. Now, the only way that a city can be merged together with another player's city is if it sneakily merges in on the other one. So if the red player had directly placed another piece on the yellow player's city, they would not be able to put one of their followers on that piece to claim it for points. It would need to be approached in the method that is illustrated in this example. In this example, we can see the first scoring city of this game. The yellow player has just laid down a piece that completes a city. Their piece lined up with two other pieces on the board that were catty-cornered from each other, thus completing a city. When they laid down that piece, they put down their follower directly on top of that one and were able to score 6 points total. As a reminder, cities score 2 points per tile that the city occupied. And once this city is complete, the yellow player will be able to take that follower back and use it to claim future cities and roads in order to gain more points. And since yellow completed that city, they have scored 6 points and were able to move their player on the score sheet up 6 spaces. In this final example of the tutorial, there are two different things that are happening. We are revisiting the city that the yellow player and the red player are fighting for control over, and essentially this is the one where the red player was trying to sneak in on the yellow player's city in order to share the points and level out the playing field. You can see that first the red player laid down a piece to sort of end the one end of the yellow player's city, and they did this assuming that they would be able to merge their city with the yellow player's city. However, the yellow player drew this strategic piece that they laid down, essentially cutting the red player out of their city. So the yellow player for this one scored a total of 9 points, leaving the red player only scoring 4 points. And after that last series of moves, you can see that the yellow player has moved on ahead of the red one, basically leaving them in the dust. This is very early on in the game, so as things progress, the board actually gets quite extensive once all the pieces are laid out. So tides could turn and red could end up winning. You never really know until the end, especially if there are a lot of farmers laid down on the board. But anyway, that concludes my little tutorial. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about this game. You can find it in just about any local game shop. They have fun games like this, or you could likely find it online if you're interested. But yeah, thanks for listening.